Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns new skates. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Well, Jeff, it's Wednesday night. This is not live. For those people, we put it out as a live podcast, but we recorded the day before. So if you have any questions, type them in. Let us know. We'll get back to you, but we are not live. But we appreciate you watching this podcast. So here we are. But we're a Wednesday night podcast now. We're a hump day podcast, enjoying orange slices, hump day. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's been a busy couple weeks. You and I almost crossed paths in Seattle. We weren't able to do
it.
But yeah, it was, it's the first time I've ever been to Albuquerque. Beautiful day, a really cool little coffee shop just down the corner went to this morning. So yeah, I'm good. And then I'm out of here tonight. And the hump day, we're getting ready for the big day, Thanksgiving Day this week. So a lot to be excited about.
I forgot to bring that up.
Why?
I said I forgot to bring that up. I forgot to bring up the old Thanksgiving tomorrow.
You were too busy talking about the hump day. But it's also the time of year we start looking at the NHL standings and seeing who's in and who's out, because it's some crazy number. It's like 80% of the teams or something, maybe it's even higher than that are in the playoffs as of U.S. Thanksgiving. Because Canadian Thanksgiving was in October. U.S. Thanksgiving is this week. And if you're in now, there's a really good chance that you're going to be in at the end. So some teams are on the have side and some teams are on the have not side right now.
Some teams are Thanksgiving, something are thanks nodding.
Yeah.
One of the teams on the outside is Seattle, and I was in Seattle the other day, and Trevor Henry came and see me, a local Terrace boy living in Kamloops now, and we went to the game, and we seen Seattle and the Islanders, and it was a good game. It was a really good game. One thing that I was surprised by is Seattle seems to have a smaller team.
Yeah, Seattle is a little bit smaller, and they're having a little bit of trouble this year scoring goals, but when Seattle's at their best, right, they're relentless. And they took Dallas to 7 games in the second round last year by playing just a reckless style. But they are a little bit smaller. They got some big D back
They have a
there.
huge guy. They got this Russian kid. I think he's got to be at least 6'8".
Jamie Alexiak from Canada, the Russian Canadian. 24.
That's hilarious. That's 24.
He's the most decorated Olympian ever in Canada, by the way.
Well, just to let you know, he should be playing on my favorite Western Division team, the Columbus Golden Knights.
Yeah. Well, here's
is he really not? Is he really Canadian?
Yep. Jamie Alexiak.
I love how disgusted you are with me right now.
Swimmer, and she's the most decorated Olympian ever.
Is she built like him? Is she like 6'8" as well?
I would imagine she's pretty tall. I don't know, but they call him the Big Rig, right? The Big Rig. He's done a nice job in Seattle there, but
just massive.
Seattle. Here's where their goaltending is. Grubauer's he's been okay.
It's average.
But not for the money they're paying him.
If they're gonna have average goaltending, they can't be paying that much money, so they can have an even better player out front, right? So they can spend more out front.
Well, you look at it, you have some teams that spend a lot of money in goal and some teams that don't.
Vancouver.
And I don't know. I mean, I think it's a flip of the coin. You look at Tampa and the success they've had, you can point a lot of it towards their goalie. But then if you look at Colorado and Vegas, the last 2 champions of the league, their goaltending has been, I think, way above. You can't say just adequate. I think Kemper did what he needed to do in Colorado a couple of years ago, and Hill and Thompson, but mostly Hill and Brossois actually last year in the playoffs for Vegas. Those guys are really good. So yeah, you're
Didn't
right.
Quick play game too?
Quick, he dressed, but he never played in the playoffs, I believe. But Quick played some really good hockey for him down the road, to get them there. And now he's standing on his head with the Rangers. So, and he's a bargain deal. But I guess we're talking about Seattle, and Grubauer
I
for
guess.
$6 million a year. You need a little bit more, right? You need a little bit more out of him because Seattle, to me, needs a little bit better goaltending, and they're a little bit snake bit around the net this year. But exciting team to watch because they go pedal to the metal, right?
Yeah, and we got the whole dollar's worth. We got 3 periods plus overtime plus eight rounds of shootout. So that was a good game.
Well, tell me what you thought of our old friend from the Canucks, Bo Horvat, who's been with the Islanders. We don't see him much anymore. How did he do?
You know what? Didn't really notice him that much that game. I was
Okay.
actually surprised, but I was wondering if it was because he had such a big night 24 hours before, if you can keep that kind of level of emotional intensity up. So, the one that stood out for me watching the Islanders was Lee. Lee was everywhere, causing penalties, taking penalties, and scoring goals. So,
Yeah, you know what? He's a kind of a little bit of an older version of a Gabriel Landeskog to me. Kind of gives you everything and kind of the identity of your team, I think. Obviously, we're looking forward to hopefully Landeskog gets back, but that's kind of what Lee kind of reminds me of, that kind of player that he does it all for that team. And
absolutely, he does it all.
And in a guy that could play for any team in the league. Like you look around, there isn't a team in the league that wouldn't take Anders Lee on tomorrow and say, yeah, we'll absolutely take him. So, and yeah, so
and that's not to say that Horvar, whatever his name, Bo, wasn't good out there. It just I didn't notice him much. He didn't stand out to me like Lee did. So
yeah. Well, New York grinded their way through Western Canada. And that's a team we don't talk about a lot. Our friend Hoods is running the D there, so we're pulling for the Islanders. But
a lot of ties, right? They came home with a lot of ties.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like these 3-point games, if you're on the bottom end, you get the point. That's great. But at the end of the year, you know when you go into overtime, it's teams that are able to get that extra point and kind of give themselves a little breathing room. So. We'll see what happens, but they came through, got their Western Canadian road swing out of the way. And ironically enough, I think the Islanders come back out west just after Christmas, but or maybe it's just before again. Like I was looking at their schedule, I'm like, because they come through Vegas, and I was like, well, they just were out here, and now they go back, and then they come back out. So it'll be interesting to see.
I think the schedule's a little weird this year. I don't think it's as player friendly as it has been as far as travel, if you look at everybody's schedule.
No, I mean, if you look at the teams that went over to Europe, right? You got Toronto, Mini.
We forgot about that. We got to talk about that. We must talk about. Yeah, that's probably something we should talk about.
So, you got to build in some kind of way for these teams. I know the charter over, charter back, but
still,
one way or the other, your body clock's getting messed up, and there's just so much money involved that I think it's important that they sell the game in Europe, and just like the NFL's doing. NFL doesn't care. They're like, hey, you play Sunday night in KC, you're going to go over to Europe and play next weekend. And I would like to see the NHL, if they're going to take these teams over to Europe, give them an opportunity to come back home, get through 4 days, 3 or 4 days off, I think, some men, and then play a couple home games and kind of get acclimated again before they go on the road.
It was our buddy Luciano Cosmari loved the trip because he was able to watch his Maple Leafs at 11 a.m. or something like that. So he was thrilled by that. But I think it was great. It seemed like it was a huge success taking those teams over there.
I think it's really smart. Okay, so they took Toronto and Detroit, 2 original sixes, right? So those 2 teams are marquee teams in the league. But then you bring Ottawa, who's trying to find their footing as far as climbing up the ladder, and Minnesota, who maybe doesn't get as much love as they'd like, or publicity. So I think it was brilliant taking those teams over there. 3 Eastern Conference teams and one that plays out west in mini. But I think it's really smart. And you want to tell everybody what Luch's response was to you when you were asking about where the Leafs are?
I see. He said, "What?" He said, "What?" I can't remember. He said something. I said, "Where are the Leafs? Markham." That's what I said, which is just outside of Toronto. Hey, what did he say again? I can't remember what he said.
Sweden.
Sweden.
But
he was mad about it.
He put a sentence enhancer on the end, which I was kind of hoping you'd take the bait and just say it. But yeah, he's like Sweden, and then the next word started with a B. Like he was all hurt.
Oh yeah, he said Sweden bitch, didn't he?
Yeah.
Such a funny guy.
Like
holy shit,
it's like 11 in the morning.
I know. He's really, really funny.
Yeah.
He's really, really funny. Oh my God, he's funny.
I haven't seen Luch since I gave him a Toronto Maple Leafs. I had a Toronto Maple Leafs shirt that I gave him. We went out and with him and Christine last spring in April when the Leafs were still in the playoffs, because I try to give him anything or meet with them early in the playoffs. So, and then he went radio silence, and then he popped up when Matthews was getting hat tricks in back-to-back games, and then all of a sudden he was all fired up because they're over in Europe and Sweden winning. So,
well, this is how he works. As soon as his Leafs are out, he shuts it down until October.
Yeah.
He's such a douche. He's funny, but he's a douche. Anyways.
Yeah, he's high maintenance. Like, could you imagine being in a relationship where he doesn't just shut it down for a couple of days. Luch shuts it down for months at a time. So
months. I think Edmonton fans and Toronto fans are much alike. That's it.
Yeah, I that's
complain if you want to. That's it.
I would agree. Hey, but let's talk about this. If I was to ask you a question about, and you brought this team up earlier, and it has something to do with the team that you just talked about, Columbus. What place would you say Columbus is in, and what teams are they in front of right now?
They got to be they're in front of Edmonton, and they're in front of San Jose.
And
and I'm trying to think what who else is struggling so bad. Calgary.
No, Calgary's actually started getting it going. They're in front of Edmonton, San Jose, and Chicago. And I'm sitting there.
Well, I didn't know I was going to say Chicago, but I thought Chicago was doing okay and was in front of them. Really?
Yeah. And so think about this. It's been an absolute tire fire in Columbus. They've benched Johnny Gaudreau. They're healthy scratching line A now. Okay. And as bad as all that is, they're still ahead of Edmonton right now. That tells you like what's gone on this year in Edmonton, which is really baffling to a lot of people, just because of the star power in Edmonton being able to. I mean, everyone else said Edmonton can outscore their problems, and there's two things that Edmonton was able to do. You can
outscore your problems if your horse is absolutely healthy. He's not healthy.
No, you know what? I feel bad, for McDavid, and people are like, oh, McDavid, but this dude's a special player in the league and for our game. And he looks like he's aging in dog years this year, and I feel bad for him. But here's the two problems. Like, normally Edmonton can outscore you. And then the other thing like when Edmonton was the year they lost out to Colorado, and even last year with Vegas, when the games got chaotic, Edmonton just thrived. Now, when the games start to get a little chaotic, they're going the other direction. They're plummeting, and it just seems to be like the wheel just keeps on rolling over them and over them and over them, like they're stuck on the tire and they can't get off, and kind of just get to the side of the road and figure out what's going on. They've held leads in their last 2 games in Florida, and their power plays their power plays around like 22%, which is okay, pretty good, top probably 10 in the league. But when you're running at 30, 35% like they were last year, that won them a lot of games. And now the power play's dried up. Their two stars aren't, kind of having the same success scoring right now they normally do. And it's rough. So I looked this morning, I could not believe Columbus was in front of Edmonton, because you expect Columbus to be down in the lottery pick again, right?
No, yeah, you figured about it. I knew San Jose and Edmonton were behind them. Yeah, I'm not shocked. But Chicago actually surprised me because I thought they were able to do better than what everybody thought they're going to do. Hey, how's Florida? Did you watch that game against Edmonton?
Yeah, so Florida, you know what? And I read an article about them the other night, quietly, because they don't get a ton of fanfare down there. Quietly, Florida's having another really good year. Actually, way better than they were last year, because they scuffled until the second, last third of the season. Then they went crazy, right, to get in. Florida's an upper echelon team in the East, and they look good. They're greasy. They got two of their top players back in Ekblad and Montour on D, or Montour, sorry. And so when I looked, and I was like, Boston has only lost one game. If you like, those guys just go on. The Rangers are
Tampa
playing great.
They lost again last night, didn't they? Did they lose to Tampa last night?
Well, but in OT.
Oh no,
But they've only lost one in regulation. So
I see.
and then
I thought that was an OT last night.
Yeah, the Tampa came back on them late. But here's the crazy thing about it: is you look down that division. If you would have said to me, like, Washington's played 15 games, they only have 4 regulation losses, I wouldn't have seen that coming. Philadelphia is right in there. So the cool thing is, we're starting, like, Washington has had their time. They've kind of leveled. They're hanging around right now, but it's good to see teams like like the Flyers get back going again. So out east, you have some teams.
Rangers too, or Rangers.
The Rangers are crazy, right? But they give up 6 goals or some crazy thing in the third period, maybe, or 4 goals in the third period the other night to lose to Dallas. But
it's going to happen, though. It's in an 82 game series. It's not like football where you can have a completely winning season. You're going to lose. It's like being hired to be fired. You're going to lose.
You're going to.
You can't lose a ton of them, right? So,
well, think about it. You're right. You're going to go on a 3 or 4 or 5 game skid, right? So that's why, like, getting the points early in the season, like a lot of, like, Colorado's coming back on again. Dallas is good. Vegas is good. So that's where, out west, you look and you go, if you're Edmonton, you got to find a way. And I don't know, maybe we just should leave them alone for a while, because there's other teams like Calgary that are coming on. We haven't even talked about Vancouver today and how well they're playing. And then you have your other teams, the Jets are in there, and St. Louis. So if you look at it and you say, well, Edmonton's got the superstars, but if these other teams in front of them play 500 the rest of the season, which you would think most of the teams that are headed for the playoffs are going to be 500 or better, that means Edmonton's going to have to turn around a 300 winning percentage and almost make it 700, 650 to even have a sniff. And that's where it's there's a ton of games and you're going to go on some skids, but the odds start to get pretty long, and you don't want to be sitting there heading into December.
It's going to be a long. It's going to be a long, long winter if they don't pick it up. Very long. But at the same time, we always say just get in, right? St. Louis.
Yep.
So,
and you wouldn't want to play a team like a Philly or someone like that if they can find a way to get in, because they're gonna make it just absolutely. They're gonna grind you into the ice. These teams. St. Louis is kind of another team like we just talked about. You get in, they play that grinding style, and those are the kind of teams that are tough to play in the playoffs, and they're usually successful.
The Kings have gotten better this year as well. So
I think they're a whole different team, don't you? When you watch them, like, they've been good the last couple of years, but there's something about that team this year.
They're taking another level, right?
Different. And
the buddy that was traded down from the Jets is actually kind of fit in there. So
he's he's done a good job. They play like a very mature team, like the kind of team that's going to be there in the end. They've got
same kind of as Vancouver. Like they're not panicking. even when they're down, right? They're the same way.
Well, I mean, I think people in Vancouver, Canucks fans, and even the Canucks themselves should enjoy this ride a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
like enjoy the prosperity. Don't sit there and go, well, judge it at the end of the season. Enjoy the pleasures in the journey.
This is
Enjoy it now.
enjoy it, have fun.
Yeah, because I mean, we're all Canucks fans from
Who
growing up,
knew?
and
Who knew that their new
you
clock would change everything? You know, that new clock inside the arena has changed everything in that town.
yeah, that's right. And now, if they could only get some new seats.
Now they need some new seats where it looks like, even when things are going bad, it still looks like people are in the building. Oh my God. Hey, do you think all those guys, Tanev, and the other two, are going in a package? Do you think they're going to all go in the package?
You're talking about Calgary,
Calgary?
Tanev, and Hanifin and Zadorov, you mean?
Yeah.
That's a great. Could you imagine trading your 3D to another team? So Calgary has a little bit of a conundrum. Okay, they're starting to win now. If you look at Calgary, I think we talked about them a couple of weeks ago, but if you look at that team, their top 5D are really good, and their goaltending. I mean, if you look on paper, their depth is incredible, right? I mean, the guy that's the best goalie in the American League, Wolf, can't even play up there because they got Vladar and Markstrom. So they have the pieces of the puzzle for a playoff team. But if you can't get those guys signed and Calgary's in a playoff spot, let's say in March or around the trading deadline, what are you going to do if you can't? If those guys are like, yeah, we're not going to sign that, you got to move them because Calgary lost Johnny Gaudreau for nothing, and then they traded Kachuk for Huberdeau, Uyghur, and a prospect, which actually was a great return considering the situation because Kachuk wasn't coming back. Well, if you can't sign these guys, I was thinking about that the other night. Calgary's starting to get it going. If the management's in a real pickle there because they don't want to continue on mediocrity, right? Like they kind of have been. They've been good, but they haven't been able to get over the hump. But I think they're good enough to get over the hump. But the thing is if you're going to the playoffs with Zadorov, Hanifin, and Tanev as UFAs, unrestricted free agents, I mean, anything short of a Stanley Cup is not going to be
they've
enough.
already said they're not coming back, so you got to do something. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Lindholm, the
absolutely.
centerman, right? So, and I guess I don't know about Backlund, but they have some really good pieces. But they are going to be a really interesting team to watch. And if they decide that they're in the playoffs, that these guys won't sign, and they burn it down and get rid of all those guys and bring in a bunch of youth, how's the fan base going to react to that, right? But they cannot go to the bank and not come back with some money in their pocket. They got to go in, and make a big
something. Here's
withdrawal.
something. What about sending two guys for Stamkos and a draft pick?
Well, he's got a no trade.
Yeah, but he's not. They're done, and he's leaving. He's leaving Tampa. I guarantee it.
Okay, is this his last year?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
okay, so what do you solve by doing that? So you trade two guys to Tampa, which you would assume was to be a sign and trade. You get Stamkos back. Do you think unless you get him to sign in Calgary?
He's never been offered huge money. If you look at his deals, he's never gotten the huge money. If you give him the huge money, I bet you get him to stay.
Okay. How old Stamkos?
102.
Right. Okay. So if you offer him a 3-year deal, he's
I think he's 30.
at the end of it.
I think he's 32, isn't he? 32 or 35. I can't remember.
Well, what I'm getting at is
he's got,
you know what? He's a Hall of Fame guy. And I think he's unbelievable. But okay, so we're going to trade for Steven Stamkos.
I just asked. It's just a question. You don't have to get disgusted.
No, I want you to answer this for me. I want you to work through it and help me. Okay, so if we bring Stamkos in, right? Say we can do the deal. Okay, and we need to keep him, right? Because he's going to be a big part of our franchise. how long do you keep them for? What do you sign them for? And how much a year?
Well, okay, you got me.
You just ask the questions, right?
But I
That,
do I
that,
just
is
I
that
just
how
ask the
that goes?
questions. I don't figure it. But I'm trying to. I thought they had a lot of cap room, right? Do they?
Well, okay. They might have a lot of cap room, and this guy is a generational player, and
So
I
you
know he's on the
overpay.
back nine.
So you
But
overpay. You overpay
well,
him,
that's
right?
what I'm asking you. Okay, so look at Calgary right now. You have Huberdeau for another 7 years at 10.5. You've got Kadri for another 6 or 7 at
I think that was a bad. That was a. I
whatever
don't.
he's
I
signing.
don't. I
So
don't,
let's just say, I think
uh,
Kadri's probably around 6 million, right? Would it be 5, 6?
mhm.
So let's just say you have 16 or 17 million tied up in those two players. Now you're going to bring another guy in who's got an incredible Hall of Fame player track record, one of the best that we've seen in the last 20 years in the game. What are you going to do? Are you going to give him 3 years at 10 million or 8 million? And then now you've got roughly a quarter of your cap, right? Or even more than a quarter of your cap tied up in three guys that two of which Kadri and
I didn't think about. I didn't think about Kadri. I just was thinking. I was just thinking out loud, and then you just came in and just slapped it all around and said, "No, no, no." Um, we should wrap this.
I'm
We should wrap this up
okay. We
quick.
got to wrap it, but let's finish on Stamkos. I think any team that could add him, that would be. He's a special player,
Okay,
and if you're trying to change a culture, he's a guy. Or build one. He's definitely a guy. Look what he's done in Tampa Bay, right? So I
maybe
love
that's
the
who
player.
Columbus goes after.
Well, if he'd go there, but maybe he will. If he's probably in a position now with Tampa Bay where you know what they could offer him something, but I think he might go to the market now and see what's out there. Ryan O'Reilly just got 4 years from Nashville, so
Hmm.
Steven Stamkos is going to get a minimum of 3 years from
How old is
somebody.
he?
Stammer, I think, is in his mid-30s.
You know what? I said
Oh,
that.
Millard be all over us, because I just
I
used his
was,
nickname. He'd be like, "Oh, you can't use Stammer." So Steven Stamkos is mid-30s.
you know what we'd say to Millard? Shut up, Melly. I got one more question. Okay, which do you think you'll see? Which of these do you think will happen? Like, which of these has better chance of happening? All right, that is McDavid in a Leaf jersey. All right,
All right.
and now we send him home to Arizona. Do we send him home to Arizona or no? Does he go home to Arizona?
So,
So
okay, McDavid in Leaf jersey or Austin Matthews
sorry,
in?
I forgot to mention the name.
Yeah, I'm just, that's okay. I'm with you. Um, I
Austin
think
Matthews to Arizona. Which do you think has a better chance of happening? And I don't think either has a chance of happening, but which do you think has a better chance?
I would say the way things are going right now, that I would say because of the way things are going in Edmonton right now, you might have a better chance of seeing Connor McDavid in a Leafs jersey. But ultimately, I think Austin Matthews will end up in a southern market somewhere after this deal is over, whether it's Arizona or Vegas or LA or Dallas or maybe even Florida. He will, I think, after this contract, move on from the Leafs. But if you're asking me today, I would say Connor McDavid, slightly higher possibility of being in a Leafs jersey than Matthews in the short term of being in an Arizona Coyotes
You know
jersey.
why? You know why I don't think he'll end up in an Arizona jersey? Because they're going to
Why?
Salt Lake City. They're going to Salt Lake City.
I think I'm really interested to see the Salt Lake thing because the guy in Salt Lake's got a ton of money. He's very motivated, but I'm not so sure how excited
You know what? Do you
Vegas
want to know
or
why I say that?
Colorado would be, or even one of San Jose. But Vegas and Colorado, I'm not sure how excited they'd be with Arizona and Salt Lake because Vegas has kind of built their fan base on the western side of the Rockies up through Utah and Montana, and they kind of consider like that's where Foley really focused on outside of the greater Nevada state of Nevada. That's where he was really pushing. Wyoming is another one, which some of the Wyoming is going to fall for Colorado anyways. But so I'm interested to see. But what division do they go into? Who moves? Do they stay in the Central if that happens?
Yeah, they stay exactly where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why I say that? Also, I say it. The other day, the basketball, Salt Lake City basketball, the Jazz, by mistake, released the Kraken's jerseys for the outdoor game. They came out wearing the Kraken's outdoor jerseys.
Hey, did they have okay, well, I'll talk about it once we get done.
They had the stripes? They had the stripes?
Yeah, I thought I saw one in the Seattle airport the other day. So maybe, I was like, is that the jersey? So
yeah, I got a Pan Am shirt the other day in the airport in Seattle. Pretty excited about it.
Yeah, that's a cool little shop. It's right outside the D Gate security. If you ever want to get any airline swag. So that's it. Hey, why don't you throw out some this is what everyone waits on pins and needles for, our shout outs. So why don't you
we'll go to shout outs, but we're going to make sure that you go to headygear.com, go to headygear.com, get yourself a backpack. It's Christmas time. Get yourself a backpack, or somebody in your family a backpack where you can decorate it with your own swag and let people know how you feel about yourself. Use the code BAG, get yourself a discount. Yeah, there we go. Headygear.com.
Okay, you can continue on after that seamless transition to
the shout outs. My shout out is for the Miller family. Cam Miller and his wife came to the show this weekend, and they were fantastic. We got them some swag, some enjoying orange slices. Here's a photo. Their son wearing the enjoying orange slices jersey, and he's got a stick that he got from Seattle Kraken. Yanni Gord's stick. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So big weekend for him. He was pretty excited about the stick, but he was over the moon about the shirt. So big shout out to the family.
I was asking Cam, I said, where's Kim during the practice? Was she in the wife's room?
That's so funny.
She's
awesome.
Having a cappuccino in the wife's room. That was a big weekend. I don't know which Austin's more excited about, the Enjoying Orange Slices shirt, which I'm wearing again this week, or the Yanni Gord stick that was probably about $350. Yanni Gord seems like a great guy, cheap? So we should really shout him out in that too. But I got a couple shout outs this week. One to my Aunt Bev, who is recovering at home. She's doing well. So shout out to my Aunt Bev this week, who's a huge supporter of me over the years. Used to drive to watch me play my junior games in Kelowna back in the day. So love to my aunt and uncle. She's just recovering from a procedure, doing well. And then I want to end it, that's a high note, but I also want to shout out to Max Verstappen, the F1 driver, who totally took down the Formula One in Vegas and the city and everything else, and then went on to win the race the last weekend. And then all of a sudden, he came out of his car in his Elvis jumpsuit, and they call it his fire suit and everything else. And I just had to laugh. I'm like, he just ripped to shreds the whole F1 and everything about it.
And then won it.
And then he ended up winning. He was the happiest guy in Vegas. So a special shout out to Max Verstappen. I cannot wait to see you come back to Vegas for the next 9 years, because they signed a 10-year deal. But it was a little bit of a gong show in Vegas to get going, I guess. But as the weekend went on, we went down Wednesday night to see the track. Was crazy. It was really cool. All the drivers and everybody seemed to come out of it on a high note. So a shout out to Max Verstappen, who is the first winner of the F1 Las Vegas Formula One race. Congrats, and love to all.
Love to all.
I guess we should actually wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving too before we go too. So happy Thanksgiving, love to all.
All right, I'll give you that one.